I have a really, really unique solution to the Rafael Devers situation in Boston. Just let the guy hit.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans. Welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is a daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan, but please call me Sully. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever they're calling it these days, and on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram, but the best way to get a hold of us is right here by leaving messages here on the YouTubes. And if you're going to post anything, make sure to put that hashtag everyday Sully on there. That helps me find some of your comments and also helps us figure out who's actually listening to the darn show. Hey, today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Easy for you to say. Let's go over the trivia question, which I had when we talked about the firing of the manager of the Pirates. We brought up which Alou brother won a batting title with the Pirates, and a couple of you got it correct. Scott Thurmanson, 2010, commented Marty Alou. It's Matty Alou, but I'll give it to you. A couple other people said Matty Alou. I just liked that it was Marty Alou. By the way, one of my favorite comments from that episode came from an Everyday Sully listener. Scott Horsemeyer said, "You need to stop. You all keep talking about O'Neill Cruz. He's not that good. He's not the player they need to build around." All right. Um, who am I supposed to be talking about when we're talking about the Pirates? That was part of the problem. They can pitch, but they can't hit, and he is um okay, probably mediocre. Yeah, his stats have been tumbling, but what am I going to bring up the late Willie Stargell? We're going to bring up Al Oliver? I mean, which pirate am I supposed to be bringing up now? I mean, you have to be positive about somebody on the damn team. But they lost a tough one today, extra innings to the Atlanta Braves. The Braves are just good in extra inning situation. The games are over on Saturday. It was a weird, wild slate of games. Let's go over who owned baseball. Stephen Kolek, in only his second major league start, threw a complete game shutout against the Colorado Rockies. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the Rockies later. Holy cow. Um, but I will also point out that Rockies fans, you impressed me big time. But just what the Padres need is another solid pitcher on their team. He went the distance, complete game shutout. And if he is now Stephen Kolek, if he's now a good pitcher for the Padres, then they already have Michael King. They already have Nick Pivetta. They already have Dylan Cease. And if you take a look at what happened yesterday with the fact that the Los Angeles lost to the Diamondbacks, right now the Padre. I mean, we're approaching Memorial Day. Memorial Day is coming up in a couple of weeks, where we can really start looking at the standings. And as great as the Dodgers have been, and they have been, they are in a virtual tie with the San Diego Padres right now. The Padres have been really, really excellent. Bryce Harper owned baseball. He went 3 for 5 with a home run to lead Philadelphia to a 7-1 win over the Cleveland Guardians. Now, some may say I picked Gavin Sheets, why I picked Fernando Tatis Jr., who were part of San Diego's huge win. I'm sorry, I have a hard. I'm already giving one Padre player on who owns baseball today. The Rockies are not a major league team right now. That later. Garrett Crochet pitched great for the Red Sox. 7 innings, struck out 9 Royals, and they bounced back from a tough extra inning loss to win what turned out to be a 10-1 laugher for Boston, dusting them. And they picked up a game on the Yankees because the Yankees lost a game to the Sacramento A's, and Shea Langoliers went 4 for 5 and hit a go-ahead 3-run home run. But Mr. Fisher got his wish because Remember when he talked about how much fun it's going to be to have a team playing in Sacramento, and the only player he could think of that you'd want to see a hit home run there was Aaron Judge? Because if I offered him $10 billion and an already completed stadium in Las Vegas, if he could name one player on the A's, he would say, "Well, what about Aaron Judge?" Well, Aaron Judge did hit 2 home runs in Sacramento, but it didn't. It wasn't enough for the Yankees. Brett Baty also. It's Brett Baty, right? Brett Baty hit 2 home runs, but the Mets were edged by the Cubs, who, by the way, are at the end of a really, really hard part of their season where they've had to play the Mets and the Rangers and the Dodgers and the Padres, and they're coming out looking pretty good. So they better keep doing that, okay? Because the team is breathing down their neck. Shane Smith threw 6 shutout innings, but the White Sox bullpen could not celebrate the new pope as they lost 3-1 to Miami. And Logan Webb, who is Matt Cain 2.0, he pitched well for the Giants, but the Giants couldn't hit for him. That's for those of you who don't remember. That was Matt Cain. All the beautifully, he basically had to throw a perfect game to get a win because the Giants never hit for him. Let me tell you something. More than one person has brought up the whole Rafael Devers situation with me. Devers is a mainstay with the Red Sox. He basically exploded onto the scene with the Red Sox in 2017, and it allowed them to basically just dump the contract of Pablo Sandoval, who was an absolute just disaster. I knew he was going to be a disaster. Listen back to the old Sully baseball episodes in 2014 when I begged the Red Sox to not sign him. But the emergence of Devers in 2017 allowed for Sandoval to be expendable. And he was a big part of the World Series winning team. Yes, I know they were cheating, but what are you going to do? And he wound up having a great series against the Houston Astros. So those are two cheating teams that canceled each other out, and then they beat Los Angeles in the World Series. And he hit 2 big home runs in the 2021 Division Series against Tampa Bay, and then signed a long-term deal when everybody in their moose thought that he was going to be yet the latest Red Sox to leave, a la, to be dumped by the team, like Mookie Betts, like Xander Bogaerts. But then he signed a long-term deal. He stayed with the Red Sox, and he is signed until the year 2033. He is going to be essentially his entire prime is going to be with the Red Sox. This is already his 9th season with the team. In this day and age, you can't ask for more than 10 seasons from a player. He is a long-term Red Sox and basically the face of the team. And he's never been a dynamic defensive third baseman. And he's been a terrific hitter. He led the league in doubles in 2019. Last year, each of the last bunch of years, he's been a solid high 800s and OPSs, bunch of home runs, drives in runs. He's what you want from him. Okay. And this year, he has played every game. He leads the league in walks. And we all know he got off to a horrific start, an absolutely horrific start. And we all know that. We all saw that. But we've seen that he is, in the last 14 days, he's hitting the snot out of the ball. In the last 14 days, his OPS is over 1,000. And today he got on base 5 times, driving in 3. Now, of course, there's been controversy with him because he's the starting third baseman, and the Red Sox signed Alex Bregman. And Bregman could play second base, but he's an elite defensive third baseman and has just absolutely fit perfectly in with the team. And Devers was initially pissed because he's the third baseman, right? And they signed a third baseman. And some people were, and he was like, basically, hey, I signed long term to be the big long term slugger of this team, and now I'm supposed to move. I'm supposed to be the one who moves. Now, Bregman has been terrific so far, but Devers got off that horrible start, but has clearly dusted himself off. And now with the injury to Tristan Casas, who was pretty, rotten to start the season anyway, there's a big old hole at first base. And there has been, rumblings of maybe, apparently he was asked, hey, would you like to play? Why don't you move to first base? Now, I know, and maybe you don't know this, Rafael Devers has been in the league for 9 years. And I think he probably thinks that he has, I don't know, some say in where he plays, some say where he fits in with the team. He has played in the field all but 4 games of his entire career at third base. He played 2 games at shortstop and 2 games at second base. He has played as many games at first base as I have. And so if I'm the guy who signed to be the long-term star of the Red Sox and I'm being asked, hey, now I'm being treated as we're going to move you around. You're going to play a position you've never played in the major leagues. Blame him for being pissed. I know I'm supposed to be. You're being paid $30 million. You do what I say. He's being paid $30 million because he's an all-star. And maybe, I don't know, just maybe he doesn't want to learn on the job. If you're going to move in the first base or do something like that, don't ask him that after the season begins. And I don't quite understand the thought process behind this. I know we're supposed to be big and tough and say you do what you're supposed to do. In my day, I would have done this. And a lot of people are saying, I'm sick of his selfishness. No, he signed a long-term deal to be the slugger and the face of the Red Sox. And he's done a good job of it and has dusted off that crappy start. The first couple of weeks were hard to watch, but he's now hitting the snot out of the ball. And in the middle of all this controversy and him getting pissed off at the brass for asking him to do that, as I said, he gets on base 5 times and is part of a big win today. How about they just do this? Just be the DH. We just need you to hit. Just rake. We're not going to ask you to move anywhere else. You can get a first baseman. You can move a player to first base. I don't know, one of their great young players who come up, maybe start them at first base, or maybe you move someone around, or maybe you make a deal. I don't know, and neither do you. But maybe asking your big slugger to be pushed around, maybe that's not how he's wired. And what you want him to do is to be a productive hitter. The people who are acting all the tough guy going like, oh, he should just do what he's supposed to do. He's an employee. Yeah, he's an all-star. And you're a guy named Duffy who lives in Everett, Massachusetts. Okay? There's a little bit of a difference. And it's something that I've been seeing and something that I decided I want to bring up an aspect of baseball fandom that may not be cool or may not fit in with today's metrics, but it's something that I think we need to really discuss because this isn't just me being old man Sully. This is me realizing that, yes, we have to adapt to a changing world and a world of new information, but that adaptation isn't just one way. That adaptation isn't just you do what I say, blah, 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 because that's not always an effective way of doing things. And you know what? It could actually be a destructive way of doing things. I'll explain it in a bit. Ever check your bank account and wonder, wait, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, and all these other stuff you do, it can be easy to lose track. And that's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO. Just hit my computer there. Live read, folks, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you can stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I didn't realize how many times I was ordering out or how many subscription fees I had. Now I budget smarter and I save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. That's Monarch Money. Somebody wrote, where did they say? Oh, um, Pigskin Petey says ban analytics. I am Team Sully. Nope. I never said ban analytics. I am not a ban analytics person. I'm not. Every team needs to have analytics, even if you use old fashioned analytics like batting average, home runs, runs batted in. That's still analytics. There's all sorts of data and there's all sorts of new stats and new ways to measure things that we never had before. That's just information. And every team needs to have that. And successful teams take all the information and make sure that the players and the managers and the coaches have access to this information and use that information to make adjustments, to figure out where to play players, to figure out strategies of hitting, strategy of pitching. That's all analytics really is. It's not a dirty buzzword. However, there is a way to use it, and sometimes you get the sense that there's a mentality that comes around with using analytics that doesn't exactly line up with how athletes and baseball players have been wired to be successful. And that's where some conflict comes in. We've read about that when you have teams that are overly analytical and confusing some of the players. And like you saw all the people talking about how the Mariners offense was just they were throwing too much information at them and all sorts of things that when new players come up, they throw a lot of stuff at them that sort of messes with their mindset. And there's another thing that happens a lot of time when I think teams lean on the analytics to the point where you get the sense that clubs are trying not to lose as opposed to trying to win. I mean, I keep bringing up the most obvious example is the Blake Snell being pulled from the World Series. I bring that up because it's the most egregious example of someone just looking at the numbers in the spreadsheet and not at all taking into account what's happening in the game. And we can all agree, one of the single worst decisions in the history of the World Series was made because, well, he's only going to go 5 2/3 innings because of this and that and the other thing. And it literally cost the World Series for Tampa Bay. And everyone ran back to the analytics. Well, they told us this, they told us that, as if it is a crutch. It's an excuse. We did that to cover our butts as opposed to relying on an athlete's competitive sense. The analytics are showing you how not to lose, and the player's instincts are I want to be aggressive and win. That's why they stopped stealing bases. That's why people stopped sacrificing. That's why the bunt was removed, even though you've seen examples of teams using their speed and using the chaos of a bunt to be an aggressive move, but the numbers show this, that, and the other thing. So we're not going to do that. I'm going to tell you something. I don't think we should ban analytics. We need to use all the information we can. But you have to understand that if you have information and you're presenting it in a way that is either confusing or does not line up with the way that a athlete thinks, then you're going to create a conflict, which means you need what is called an IEP. Let me explain to you what that means. Some of you may know that in addition to being the host of Locked On MLB and the millions of dollars a year I make doing this, I am also a public school teacher. I am a special education teacher. I work with mainly kids who are on the autism spectrum. Their minds are wired differently than mine. I am trying to teach them lessons, and they don't always think in the same order that I do. I have goals for them to make. I don't give grades. We have goals. And each student has what is called an IEP, an individualized education plan. I take the information that I have, the data that I have of what I need them to do, what I need them to accomplish, what I need them, the goals I need to meet, have them to meet in terms of education, in terms of reading, in terms of functional education, in terms of social skills. And I need them to hit certain marks as goals. And I have the data to back it up. But I can't sit down with them and say, here are the goals and here's the data. I have to approach them the way that they think. And that way we can hit our goals, use the information I have, and be able to relate to them how they think. So we can hit the goals without them knowing necessarily this is what we're trying to accomplish. We just accomplish it. Yes, I think baseball teams need to do that and have individual education plans or individual analytical plans. You can take all the information that you have, but if you're if you're just throwing them lots of information, take this number, you got to hold it like this, got to do this, and then you may be messing with how they're thinking. It's the line from Bull Durham: "Don't think; it only hurts the team." Maybe some of the things that are happening to the team are not taking into account how individual players think. These are individuals. These are not the backs of baseball cards. You might think that, well, if I just give a first baseman glove to Rafael Devers, he'll be at first base and everything will be fine. Well, he'll be like, I've never played that position. I'd rather not learn on the fly. And by the way, haven't I earned after 9 seasons with the damn team the right to have some sort of sense? This is why of where I'm doing with the team. That's why I signed with you long term. It's individual of which you want to get the best out of them. If you have a kid coming up from the farm or that you just acquired from another team and you bombard them with all sorts of analytics and all sorts of data that may be overwhelming, think about how they approach the game. Not everyone's the same. Not every player is the same. Not every player mind is wired the same. Not every player's approach is the same. It has to be individualized. And you get the information that you have that could make them be the most successful, but you also take into account they got to this level. If you got to any level of the major leagues, even if you're on the starting lineup of the Rockies, who are the worst team in baseball, you got to that point, you are excellent at baseball. You got to the major leagues at any level, you are outstanding. And you've got there because you're aggressive and you have some sort of baseball knowledge up to this point, and you have a great deal of talent. So you have to figure out what each individual player, how they think, what works for them, what works for what works for some of my students. I have to be aggressive with some and force them to not hold back. With some, I have to have a gentler hand and sort of encourage certain things there. Some I have to realize, you know what, this is your strength and these are your weaknesses. We got to figure out how to get there, but I don't do it by saying, look at this chart that I got. See this? This is what we have to do. No, no. And this is why there is that conflict between the stat heads and the athletes. And in the end, has to be the manager's job. In the end, the manager's job should be to take all the information that they got, knowing will help the team be successful, and translate it into a way and to use it in a way that each player has their individualized analytical plan. Create an IAP, not an IEP. And you do this, and the most successful teams are the ones that take the information, work with it, and in the end, it helps them win because they use the information to help them win, but they don't do it in a cookie cutter way. These are individuals. They got here because they're aggressive. You take that away, you take away some of that trying to win and throw a lot of numbers at them and start coming up with numbers that sort of just focusing on the launch angle and the what is it, the velocity of the ball velocity. I don't even know what it's called anywhere. anymore. Or now they're going to have true home runs. You're going to put that in people's head. Yeah, that was a home run, but it wasn't a true home run. Exit velocity. That's what it's because I don't care about exit velocity. And someone said, "Well, yeah, my little flare hit got the job done." Yes, yes, but we're working on this and that and messing up mindsets. They're individual. Remember that. This is who they are. Remember that too. And the fact of the matter is, the more we make them individualized, the better we'll be able to use the analytics to win. Hey, let's hear from our good friends over at Wonderful Pistachios. If you're looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious, crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help you keep feeling fuller longer. Now, I teach during the day, I podcast at night. I've got a dual identity. Sometimes I need a snack. And are you going to get something like a donut or some sort of pastry or something really bad for you? No, get something that's good for you. Now, I like them out of the shells. I like them roasted and lightly salted. Boom, get it in my hand. Boom, get it in my mouth. Boom, get it in my belly. I feel full. I feel refreshed. And I'm not getting empty calories because Wonderful Pistachios, they're a complete protein, providing all 9 essential amino acid. They got a great protein punch, and I love the no shells. Some people like the shells. There's all sorts of flavors for whichever one you like, and it's a great on-the-go snack. So get snackin' and get crackin' with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. All right, hit the wrong button there at one point. Rockies, what are we doing? What are we doing, Rockies? I mean, they've lost 24 of their last 28 games. I mean, that's horrific. I think they're worse than the White Sox were last year. And they lost an extra inning game to Detroit on May 7th. And then they lost a doubleheader 10 to 2, 11 to 1 to the Tigers. They lost the other day 13 to 9 to San Diego, and then came today. Today they were down 5 runs before they even came to bat. And the final score was 21 to nothing. And do you know what? It wasn't that close because they were up to 20 to nothing after the 6th inning. And I really thought this could be a 30-run game. And Stephen Kolek throws a complete game shot because why not? Sheets homers, Cronenworth homers, Hayward homers, Arise hits a triple. I mean, everybody went nuts. And this team, they've lost 33 out of 39 games. And I don't see it getting any better. And here's why I have to say, if you're a Rockies fan, not only do I salute you for what is just going to be a grotesque year, and this could be the worst. This could be worse than last year's White Sox team. But here's the amazing thing, because I watched part of that game, and I just was astounded by what I was watching, how just incompetent this team. I mean, poor Blaylock pitched into the 4th. He let up 12 earned runs, and it was a calamity. Nothing went right. 21-0. Complete game shot on one side, a 5-run inning, 8-run inning, a 4-run inning. Boom, boom, boom. But here's what's incredible. Do you know what stat was absolutely incredible for this 21-0 loss? Do you know what the attendance was? First of all, the time of game was 2 hours and 35 minutes. So good on that. Do you know what the attendance was for a team that has won 6 games all year? Do you know what the attendance was? Do you want to guess? 38,000. 38,000 people were at the ball game. Colorado fans, let me salute. I don't care what giveaway they were doing. I don't care if it was Baldo Jimenez bobblehead day. I don't care if it was free trip to Hawaii day. 38,000 people at Coors Field. I don't care if it was free. 38,000 people. That is a phenomenal crowd. That would have been a great crowd at Citi Field. That would have been a great crowd at Fenway Park, at Coors Field to see this dead from the neck up team. 38,000 people showed up, and the Rockies rewarded them with being down 5 runs before most of them were sitting in their seats. This is why I want to see something positive happen to the Colorado Rockies. And this is why Denver is one of the great sports towns in America. I don't care who knows it. They've had recent championships with the Broncos, with the Avalanche, and the Nuggets, and they have this team that may not win more games than the Nuggets. I think the Nuggets have won more playoff games this year than the Rockies have won in the regular season so far. This is I mean, there's no way they're going to avoid 100 losses. Will they avoid 120 losses? I don't know, but you got to salute this team for having those fans show up at that rate. And by the way, I want to point out another team that I got to still, you got to give them credit where credit is due. I've trashed this team before, so you got to give them credit where credit is due. First of all, the Twins have dusted themselves off right around the time I started saying maybe Rocco Baldelli's name should be on the firing squad. They've won 7 straight games. It's never the wrong time to win a week of games in a row. But who also won 7 straight games? The St. Louis Cardinals. The St. Louis Cardinals, and the 7-game winning streak has put the Twins at a break-even 2020, and the 7-game winning streak has pushed the Cardinals above the 500 mark. And with that, I think that may have saved the job. That may have absolutely saved the job for Ali Marmol, at least at this point. And one reason why they've been winning is they've been getting really good pitching. Eric Fetty threw a complete game shutout the other day. Sonny Gray had a terrific game. Andre Palante pitched a terrific game today. They're getting good starting pitching. They're getting and Liberatore, he's not a bad pitcher either. Their bullpen needs a little help. Their lineup is starting to hit the way they're supposed to. Brendan Donovan is doing really, really well. But give that team credit. I trash the Twins and I trash the Cardinals. When you win 7 games in a row, what you have to do? You have to give credit where credit is due. And maybe some ships are being righted. Either way, we got a full slate of games going on for Sunday. I'm looking forward to that. And let's throw out the trivia question is, talk about the Colorado Rockies. What poor pitcher has thrown the most innings as a member of the Colorado, not who got the most wins. What pitcher has thrown the most innings as a member of the Colorado Rockies? That is your trivia question. Put it right down there. So follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter, whatever they're calling it these days, and on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully at Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram, but the best way to get a hold of us is right here on YouTube. Talking about Rafael Devers, an IAP for players, figuring out what the hell the Rockies are doing, but how great their fans are. And the Cardinals, well, give them credit. This has been Locked On MLB for the 11th day of May, 2025. I'm yours, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.